All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners. We are live right here in full effect, and we got the one, the only. We got legendary hip hop artist and producer Remo on the line, all the way from California. How you doing this evening?
I'm good, good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. I gotta say first and foremost, man, it's an honor just to have you on my Canadian radio station, man. You know, it's crazy how the world can bring people together, man. You're all the way out on the west coast of California, and I'm way out here in the tundra of the north.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's an honor as well on my side. I really appreciate that you are having me on your show, and I like what you do. I like that you have a lot of legendary MCs. You support, the more local artists, more underground type artists, and a lot of love for you. I appreciate it.
But I gotta ask you, like Remo, like taking you back to the beginning, man. Like, what actually made you decide to get into the music industry initially?
Man, it was me just having an outlet to get, I guess, a lot of my angst out. As a kid, I had a lot of things happening in my family, a lot of situations that were the tragic, and I needed an outlet. Growing up, my father raised me. He was a pianist, and he got me into playing the piano at a young age. And when it was about 1984 when I first heard Run DMC when they put out their first album, and I heard that, and that was it. I was like, I want to be that. I want to be that guy. I want to be those guys. And so I, started writing my little raps and had my little MC name back then, which was the White Shadow Rapper, which was pretty ridiculous.
It's a lot more creative than individuals nowadays, though.
Say that again?
I was gonna say it's a lot more creative than individuals nowadays, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. And just wrote my little raps, and then would rap in junior high, and back then it was strictly just battling. Like I was just constantly battling. Just almost every day. It got to the point where I earned a different name. They started calling me Double Murder, which double for short, because they would go 2-on-1 against me because I was that fierce with the battling. So they would team up on me, and I would still slaughter them. So I kind of earned that credit to just go off the top and battle and just kind of wipe people out, to the point where the high school that was nearby would let out, and the high school students would come over and just watch me, because after school there was always something going down with me. So it was honestly almost a daily thing, daily occurrence.
And taking you back to when you said your dad was a pianist and whatnot, before you heard Run DMC's first record, did you ever consider getting into piano, or was that just something you didn't want to do when you were younger?
It's kind of funny because I got into piano, and then I kind of got sidetracked. I actually got into martial arts, and that kind of took precedence over piano. I would still mess around because there was a piano in the house. So I'd always make up my little melodies, but I actually quit taking lessons and would just kind of goof off and make up little songs and whatnot. But yeah, when the hip hop thing hit, then it just kind of, just a little arsenal, one of the tools in my toolbox to create with. So I'm glad that I have that foundation. And then when I got a little bit older, I actually got into saxophone. So I started playing saxophone, like in bands for the school and all that kind of stuff. So, but I guess that was when I started saxophone about the same time as I started MCing. So, but then I dropped the saxophone because, not by choice, but because I actually came home one day and the saxophone was gone, and my dad was struggling with money, and I asked him what happened, and he hocked the saxophone, put it to a pawn shop, never got it out, and that was it for that instrument. So, but just kept writing lyrics, and eventually got a drum machine, some little drum machine. I don't even remember what it was back then, and just started learning the program. and making my beats and experimenting in that way, and then DJing a little bit, scratching on my own stuff. And on a 4-track, got the 4-track cassette tape deck, and started recording that way.
And also, you are the owner and operator of Soul Cypher Records. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about that record label, and of course, who is currently signed to you today?
Honestly, that was my little label I started in 2003 when I put out my first single. First commercially produced single, I guess you could say. I had other things, little underground joints on little, cassette tapes and CDs leading up to that. But I just wanted to have a label because if we go back to the 90s, I was offered a deal with Profile Records and some other labels at the time. But back then, there weren't a lot of white hip-hop artists, and they wanted to kind of pigeonhole me to be like a Marky Mark or Vanilla Ice type guy, but that wasn't me. So, for me, it wasn't about, hip-hop has never been about making money. Back then, it was just like, I wanted to speak my truth, and, I really appreciated the art, so I never signed with the label. I was like, forget it. So in 2003, I was like, well, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm just going to do it myself. I put my thing out, create my little label, and just see what happens. And, the label still exists, and I revamped it with this latest release. I don't have anybody signed to it because, nowadays I really encourage everybody to put out their own stuff. Like, it's very easy. You don't really need the label right now. I mean, the label is good if they got your back with marketing and promotion, but at the same time, it's kind of a double-edged sword because you've got to understand that every little tour, every little hotel room, all these little things that you think that they're just kind of throwing in and hooking you up, they're going to charge you, and they're going to charge you, in most times, way more than what you would normally pay for it. They go pick up a letter, they go mail something for you. Any little task, they send a driver for you. They're going to charge you a shitload of money. And at the end of the day, you're going to end up owning, or the label's you're going to end up owing that label money. You know what I mean? And then they got you like, well, okay, you got to sign another 3-year contract, and you're going to have to put out 5 more records. And that's how a lot of artists end up broke in the end. Not really, first of all, not owning their masters in most cases. And, it's just kind of a fucked up deal. So it's just me on my label. The label name is there just to, represent. It's for tax reasons, whatnot. It's a business. And, that's pretty much it on that front.
And also, my next question actually was when you brought up like your first commercial single, and I believe that was actually Down to the Wire, that was actually released on CD and 12-inch vinyl. I have to ask you, what's the story and inspiration behind that phenomenal song? And of course, are those vinyls still available to be purchased today?
Man, Down to the Wire. So I took a little break putting out music in a sense, from like after the Profile deal fell through, I was very discouraged with just trying to pursue hip-hop in that sense. I still wrote and produced music, still rap, but it was just more for me. I created all kinds of, songs, hundreds of songs and whatnot. When George Bush Jr. became president, it kind of lit a fire into my ass. I'm like, this asshole, let me make some music, because I was so frustrated and so angry with him and the things that he was doing that I decided, I'm just going to put this single out, press it on vinyl, and just see what happens. And, of course, the CD. Press it on vinyl. I had another song on the other side. It was Down to the Wire and Let Me Live. So I pressed it up on vinyl, sent it out to radio, didn't really promote it, and luckily, radio started playing it, and I was kind of surprised by it. I was hoping they'd play it, but, I didn't really have any expectations. And college radio picked it up. It was getting a lot of spins and a lot of love, and so I followed it up with my EP, which was called Thought Criminal, Journal of a Serial Thinker. The vinyl for Let Me Live and Down to the Wire, it's out there. I've seen it online a couple places, but it's definitely a rare piece. I printed up like 500 joints. Probably sent like 300 out to like radio and different DJs around the world. And then the other 200, sold it, and then didn't press any more up. Same thing with Thought Criminal. They're out there. It's another limited pressing. So, if you search hard enough, I'm sure people can find them.
And I gotta say as well, when you actually brought up Thought Criminal, I have to say, when I was doing my research for this interview, that is one record that I really took a liking to. I went back, I listened to some of your older work, and I gotta say, man, Thought Criminal, Journal of a Serial Thinker it's an absolute phenomenal record, man, from start to finish. I gotta say, do you think down the line, maybe on its like 20th anniversary, you might actually bring out like an anniversary copy?
Yeah, I mean that's an idea. Honestly, there might be some. I have a storage area that I need to get into. I think I actually have one more box of those. I think there's like 50 in each box that I just saved. I need to go back in there and just dig, because I think I have an unopened box which I just kept. So that is a possibility. I don't know if I'd repress the vinyl. I mean, if there's enough desire for it, maybe I'll do it. But I just keep moving forward and looking forward to the new music that I'm putting out and the latest album that I just put out.
And I gotta say, if you actually do dig through that storage locker and you come across that box, let me know. I most definitely will purchase a copy of that CD.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, no doubt.
And also, as how we got connected was through an individual by the name of King Elsky of the Rhyme Syndicate. And you are actually his official producer. I have to ask you, how did yourself and him get connected? Like, what's the story behind that? Because you guys are a dynamic duo.
Yeah, man. Elsky, he's not only a very talented MC, but he's a very, very cool, great person. I met him, back in the day, there was a guy named Polly Mack. He's still around, of course. Polly Mack, he saw me, I was out rapping with my partner named A+. His name is now Shy Tony. He's basically a tattoo artist now, but back in the day, he was another dope MC. But we had a group called Slices Deadly, and we would just go around with a big-ass radio with some instrumentals and just rap all over the place. Well, one day we were out, and Polly Mack spotted us. He's like, man, you guys, that's incredible. And he said, you should come by the studio. A friend of mine named Mixdown has a studio. You should come by and record some stuff. So I was like, cool. I took him up on the offer and showed up there, dropped some stuff, and Alfie was there at the time, and we just connected. And Polly Mack is actually the link to Rhyme Syndicate. And, Alfie was already part of Rhyme Syndicate, and Polly Mack asked me to be part of it as well. And, we just kind of, since that day, we just were connected. When I moved out because this was when I was in Vegas, when I moved out from Vegas to Oakland, I pretty much lost contact with everybody. And it wasn't until the Art of Rhyme, I guess about 4 years ago, where I reconnected with King Alfie. I was like, man, let's chop it up. So we did, gave him a ride back to his spot. And as we were talking, I'm like, man, are you still MCing? Like, you got something to spit? He's like, man, I haven't really done anything for a while. I'm like, well, what do you got? And he just started spitting some rhymes. I was like, man, this is what we're going to do. You're going to come to L.A., because I had moved to L.A. You're going to come to L.A., I'm going to put down some music, you're gonna rap, and we're gonna put something out. Let's just do it. Like, you have nothing to lose. You're dope. It's never too late. And he took me up on the offer, and we reconnected. He came out, and he dropped. We made 2 tracks. One is already out. It's called I Stood, and it's a dope-ass track. And on Friday, we're dropping a second track called A Long Way, featuring Levi, and it's dope. It's a whole different vibe, but I'm really excited about it, and I'm going to also be producing the rest of his EP, so I'll be on the lookout for that.
And I have to say as well, you know what I mean? Come this Friday, what can our listeners expect from, you know, King Elsky's new single, A Long Way? Like, what can we expect from that? Because I'm excited for it myself. Like, we here on Outlaw Radio, we've been spinning I Spit since it first dropped, and my listeners have been eating it up. I don't know if you saw the little chart that I created, man, but we had like 43 call-in requests for it just last month alone.
Oh yeah, I did. That's dope. Yeah, man. You know, it's a 180. It's a completely different sound, and it's a different side of Al C. And the thing that you're going to find about Al C and myself as a producer is the versatility. Al C is definitely from the streets, so you've got you've got that street knowledge side, you've got the righteous side, you've got the yin and yang. So I think it might catch people off guard just because it's so different, but I think that's what makes him such a phenomenal artist. And with this project, I'm like, let's do, both sides, the good and the bad, because that's your life. You've experienced these things. You've grown from it. You've grown and became more of a, I wouldn't say a conscious artist. I think all of us, we've got that good side. We've got that street side. Not that the street side is necessarily evil. It is what it is. If we can, as we grow, we learn from these experiences. I mean, I definitely had a past that was a little bit more, let's say, not on the up and up, but things change and grow, and you learn from that experience. So, Alski, this new track, it's more danceable, I would say. It's a little bit more, it's not as underground, but it's still raw. It's definitely got that West Coast feel, that West Coast vibe, and you just have to judge for yourself. But I'm looking forward to everybody checking it out.
And also, as we already know, you have worked with tons of amazing artists, but I have to ask you, what is one of your most memorable studio sessions that you share with another artist?
Man, I gotta say, this is a few years ago, but there's a project that featured myself, Talib Kweli, Busta Rhymes, KRS-One, Mos Def, a few other incredible artists. And KRS-One came into the studio. Actually, his brother, Kenny Parker, came in first. He's like, hey, Chris is looking for you. I'm like, what? KRS is looking for me? He's like, yeah. I'm like, who are you? He's like, oh, I'm Kenny Parker. I'm like, oh, shit. So I was like, well, what's going on? Chris comes in. He's like, hey, I just want to, I said to Chris, hey, man, this is an honor to meet you. You are, you have been a major influence in my life since I was a kid. Like, it's so great to meet you. And he's like, no, it's my honor to meet you. I love what you're doing. I respect your lyricism. I respect everything that you're doing. And that blew me away. I mean, to be honest with you, like, it had me shook. It basically kind of fucked me up a little bit, because to have somebody that you idolize most of your life come out and, first of all, know what you're doing, but give you that kind of respect, it kind of shook me up, and it really made me feel like, oh shit, I better come correct with my music, because people are listening. I knew that people were listening, like the fans, like no disrespect to everybody that has listened to my music and played it and passed it on, but to have like KRS-One to give you those kind of props, it just blew me away. So that I will forever, hold close and dear to me. I mean, he is definitely the teacher, and that's one of my biggest inspirations and something that I'll always hold dear to my heart.
And I have to ask you one thing. When you brought up Mos Def, that was actually in my question list. I have to ask you, what was it like being able to be in the studio with Mos, man? Because he's personally one of my favorite East Coast artists of all time.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I was never in the studio with Mos. So that project featuring all those people, people come in at different times. I was lucky that my session coincided with KRS-One. So after I did my thing, Chris got in the booth, did his thing, and it was just dope to see him record. But that, everybody came at different times. But that project, unfortunately, may never come out. There's sessions out there somewhere. That studio was called S&T Studios, and it was there's a guy who owned it, and a woman who's actually Tyler Quality's manager right now, if I'm correct. But they owned the studio together. They split, and therefore that project never happened. So the song that I did for that project, since the project kind of was up in the air, I took my song and put it out separately. It's called Welcome to the Aftermath, and I threw that on my second album, which is called Not the Only One. So Welcome to the Aftermath, is the song that would have been on that project. But yeah, Mos Def, likewise, like he is definitely one of my favorite MCs of all time.
So I have to ask, so even the parts with KRS-One and Mos Def are actually on that project as well?
So it's all separate songs. So it's not one track. It's a whole album with separate songs. And the focus of that album is actually the proceeds were going to go to the first responders of 9/11. As you may or may not know, there's a lot of people that suffer from cancer, all kinds of different diseases, just from the aftermath of the smoke and the debris and whatnot. So that project was going to be a fundraiser for those guys, but it, unfortunately never happened.
And also, I read as well on your website that you were actually commissioned to produce the title track for the film Seven. I have to ask you, what's the story behind that, and how did you actually get connected with the cast and crew of Seven?
Yeah, so there's a movie out called Loose Change that came out, I think it was like 2006, 2007, and I had a song called Live, which was on my EP, but also on my first album that I put out, Infiltration. So on Live, I talk about a bunch of different topics, but I also bring up 9/11, questioning the official narrative of it. And the movie Loose Change is all about the alternative theories of 9/11. So Dylan Avery reached out to me. Dylan Avery is the one of the filmmakers of that movie, along with Corey Rowe and Jason Bermas. He contacted me and wanted to use that song for the film, and at the same time, he wanted to know if I would make another song for this film. So I did, and that was called Loose Change, which I put out as a separate single. So fast forward now, Dylan Avery asked me to again make the title track for Seven, and so made the music along with a friend of mine named Michael Parker, really great guitar player, bassist out here in LA. And we laid it down, and I asked everybody to check that out because a lot of people may or may not know there were 3 towers that went down on 9/11. The Tower 1 and 2, but also 7. 7 was never hit by a plane, but it still fell the same way as Towers 1 and 2. So the Seven is a film about that. There's a professor out of the University of Alaska that, does all the scientific analysis, seeing how that could have happened. And it's definitely something that I inspire people to check out. It will hopefully reinvigorate a new investigation in that matter.
I have to ask you, is that actually currently available to be watched today, or is it still in production? And if it is out, whereabouts can we actually check that out? Because that sounds very interesting, and I might actually look that up after we get off the air.
Yeah, it just came out, I think 2 or 3 days ago. I know you can see it on Amazon. I think it's on iTunes as well. A few other outlets. I think that Netflix is looking at it as well. So yeah, it's definitely out there. It's definitely worth watching.
And also, October 2nd of this year, 2020, yourself and Rex dropped the song "The Truth Can Be Lied To." I was wondering, what made you guys decide to team up and create such a powerful song?
Well, Rex is one of my all-time favorite MCs. Everybody. This single is from the new album, Souls in a Cipher, but everybody on that album I handpicked because of their lyrical ability. So I came to Rex and I said, look, I've got this song. Basically, I just sent him the music, sent him my verse, and so he could get an idea of what it was about. And then he did his contribution and, love what he put down. And then we shot a music video for it. I was still living in Oakland, so my parts were shot in Oakland. He's in Massachusetts, so we had another videographer out there do his part. And then Dylan Avery, the guy who did Seven, he actually edited the video. But yeah, it was just what inspired me to start writing the lyrics is just kind of I was just thinking about all the things that are going on. There's a lot of, lies and bullshit out there. But at the end of the day, the truth always comes out. So I came up with that title, Truth Can't Be Lied To, because you can't lie to the truth. You can hide it. You could, bullshit people for only so long. But eventually, the truth is going to come out. So that's that.
And also, as you mentioned a few moments ago, that song is actually on your newest album that is titled Souls in a Cipher. I was wondering, can you tell us a bit more about your brand new record? And of course, where can our listeners buy or stream themselves a copy today?
Yeah, man, Souls in a Cipher, I wanted to have an album with a bunch of very talented individuals, people that I respected in hip-hop. So I contacted, Conway the Machine, Planet Asia, Rex, of course, Rasco, Methuselah, EBS, and a good friend of mine, Samantha Alexis. Again, Michael Parker helped me out with some guitar work. And I just wanted an album that just had a bunch of different styles, lyrically driven, mostly raw hip-hop, and I just wanted a variety of topics. So just a lot of boom bap, a lot of just straight lyricism, a little bit of social issues that I deal with, a little bit of politics, just a nice mix of everybody. I named it Souls in a Cipher because a cipher is a language. We all supposedly have a soul, so it's a language of all of us. We can all understand music. Music is a universal language. And I hope that people check it out. It's on all streaming platforms. If you want a physical copy of the album, you can get it on Bandcamp. And you can find all that stuff on my website, RemoConscious.com, and or just search me, Google me, and it'll pop up. But it was a lot of fun making this album. I produced most of the tracks. A guy out in France named Ren Hook produced 2 of the tracks, another phenomenal producer, a guy that he used to actually be an intern for my label back in the day. So he came all the way from France and interned for me for a summer, and just a really, really talented, cool guy. So yeah, everybody check it out, listen to it, spread the word, and yeah, tell me what you think.
And I gotta ask you there, Remo, like, what is next for you? Is is there any projects I happen to miss? Anything else you still want to talk about? Will we still have you here live on the Canadian airwaves?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the first and foremost, I am going to finish up with King Alski's EP. Then I've got a project called, it's another group, it's the Counselors, and it's myself and EBF. And EBF is part of a crew called back in the day, there was a crew called Various Blends. Various Blends consisted of Rasco, which you may know from Cali Agents, but of course, Rasco had his own solo career. So EBF, Various Blends. So in Oakland, I had a studio where I'd have like EBF would produce, he would record a lot of tracks. We had Soul the Mischief in there. I had like all kinds of Oakland-based hip-hop artists in that studio. Rascal, of course, one of them, Planet Asia. Man, names are escaping me, but it was a lot of beautiful music came out of that spot. But we're going to put that project out next, and then I'm going to put out another project and just keep things moving. And, yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Just constantly working, constantly producing. Do video work as well. So I'm right now editing a video for King Alski for A Long Way, which is going to follow after the single drops this Friday. So looking forward to that as well.
And also, so, Remo, this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that slides into the 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM airwaves. Just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to. And of course, man, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay connected. Everything Remo Conscious if they're not already doing so.
Yeah, man. I mean, first off, I wanted to give you a shout out. I, really, really appreciate you giving love to hip hop, number one. Also, of course, I want to shout out King Alski, Conway the Machine, Planet Asia, Methuselah, Rex, Samantha Alexis, Rasco, EBF, Lolo. Want to definitely give her a shout out. Everybody that supported me over the years, Albita, so many people, all my family and friends, Justin, Summer. I mean, there's so many people that I want to shout out. Mixdown, Polymac, anybody who has ever supported me, and also just underground hip-hop. My IG handle is at Remo Conscious. You can find me on Twitter as well. Website, RemoConscious.com. Yeah, I'm all over the place. So definitely hit me up if you have questions. Producers, MCs out there, you have questions. I'm happy to answer anything. Production-wise, you want to get me on a feature, I'm down. I know I've got a couple Canadian cats out there I've got a feature on. Not sure when that's going to drop, but I've got a few features out there that haven't dropped yet, so be on the lookout for those. But yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and yeah, one love, everybody.
Hey man, most definitely, Remo, you have yourself a wonderful night, and most definitely stay safe out there on the West Coast. Enjoy that sunshine.
I will. Yeah, you stay warm.
Most definitely, I'll try. Have yourself a wonderful night.
You too.